Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Wendy Freitos. I work at Impact Group as manager of My Impact website and also as a specialist in the online job search. And today I'm really excited to have Bree Reynolds from FlexJobs, who's here to present navigating the flexible job market. So I'm just going to hand this presentation over to Bree and let her get started.
All right, Wendy, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for being here today. I'm also very excited to be talking with you all about how to find a job with flexibility. This is an area that is near and dear to my heart, so I'm excited always to talk about this and also to answer questions that you might have. So, excuse me, I'll be talking for about the next 45 minutes or so, and at the end I want to leave time for anyone to ask questions if they have them. So if you have questions as I'm going through the presentation, feel free to type those into the chat area and we'll try to answer as many of those questions as you have, as we can get to also. So some of the topics that I'll be covering today, a little bit about myself and FlexJobs, just so you know how it is that I'm coming to talk to you here today. And then we'll go into trends in the remote and flexible job market, finding jobs and companies for flexible work, and positioning yourself for flexible jobs, how to actually put yourself out there and tweak your job applications and resumes and things like that a little bit differently to make yourself stand out as somebody who is well qualified for a flexible job. So just briefly about myself and FlexJobs. FlexJobs, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary in 2017. And I've been with FlexJobs since about 2010, so almost 8 years. We list pre-screened telecommuting, flexible schedule, full-time and part-time, and freelance jobs, essentially anything that is a legitimate professional level job that offers some type of work flexibility. We also list jobs in the US and worldwide. We primarily have listings for US residents, but we do also have a decent number of listings for people who are located outside the US, and I know we might have a bit of a global audience here today, so there is something on FlexJobs for everyone. And we've helped over 3 million job seekers since our founding back in 2009. We have over 49,000 researched and vetted companies on our site. That's one of the biggest things we do, is actually screen companies to find out if they're offering legitimate flexible work. And we are a membership site, which is a little bit different than most job boards. So instead of having employers pay to post their jobs, we actually ask job seekers to sign up for a subscription. And that way we are 100% focused on job seekers and employers. We can be very cautious about the types of employers that we have on the site, making sure that they're legitimate and that they're offering true flexible work. Our site also offers a lot of free and publicly available information and tips and all sorts of resources, so I invite everyone here to check it out regardless of whether you'd like to be a member or not. And then again, my name is Bree Weiler Reynolds. I'm the Senior Career Specialist at FlexJobs, which essentially means that I do this. I host webinars, I do some individual career coaching, and I write a lot of content related to the flexible job market and how to get hired in a flexible position. And I've also been a career and job search advisor for almost 15 years now, so this is really something that I enjoy doing, and I hope that everyone here walks away with at least a few things that you can implement pretty easily and clearly as part of your job search to find a flexible job. Okay, so let's talk about the flexible job market first. What does it look like? Who's hiring? What sorts of jobs are out there? And all of that good stuff. So the first thing I wanted to touch on is getting on the same page about what is a flexible job, because I'm going to be saying that phrase a lot during this presentation, and I just want to make sure that everyone kind of understands and is on the same page about what that means. So flexible jobs can be both formal or informal arrangements, and the flexibility has to do with 4 different areas. So a flexible job might be flexible in terms of the type of scheduling that it offers. So it could have flexible hours or have you working an alternative schedule that takes you outside of that traditional 9 to 5 in-office job. A flexible job could also be flexible in terms of its location. So this deals specifically with telecommuting or remote work. Those jobs are flexible because they don't require you to come into an office, and instead they let you work from home. And then it could also be flexible in terms of its status. So here we have that freelance versus employee designation, or that contractor versus employee designation. We look at freelance jobs as inherently flexible because usually freelancers have a high degree of control over when they work, how they work, where they work, who they're working with, and all of those things. There is a lot more choice and freedom if you're a freelancer to set yourself up in a way that works for you. An employee role could also be flexible as long as it offers some other type of flexibility. So if it's a flexible schedule or they let you work from home, that employee job could be flexible. And then the same goes for hours. So we consider part-time jobs to be inherently flexible as long as the person doing the part-time job is choosing those part-time hours, because that is a reduced work schedule and it allows for more flexibility in life. And then full-time job could be flexible provided that it offers some other type of flexibility, so scheduling or remote work or something like that. But the bottom line is really that anything outside of a traditional 9-to-5 in-office job is something that we would consider potentially flexible. And when I say flexible jobs throughout the presentation, I'm talking about all of these different types of flexibility and all of the combinations that there might be out there. If I'm talking about a specific type of flexibility, like remote work or flexible scheduling, I'll say that in particular so we can be very clear. Okay, so I wanted to go over some trends in flexible work and what we're seeing over the last 10 years or so. The good news is that if you're interested in flexible jobs right now, there has not really been a better time to be out in the market for a flexible job. Over the last 10 years, we have seen a huge increase in the number of people who are telecommuting or working from home, who are freelancing, and who have flexible schedules. And that's US data right there. I was looking for other data that would have more of the global information available, and there isn't too much out there that really encompasses the global trends, but I can tell you kind of the current status of flexibility throughout the world. About 20% of people worldwide have occasionally telecommuted in the last year. And sorry, that was 2015 data, so it's a little bit old, but we can assume that potentially that has gone up a little bit because that seems to be the trend overall. And also companies offering flexible work, we just got a survey in, I think it surveyed 8,000 companies worldwide, and it found that 54% will offer more flexible work options in 2018 than they did in 2017. So that's on top of what they're already offering. Over half of companies plan to offer more of that this year. So it's a really good time to be searching for a flexible job. Okay, so the next few slides, I'm going to show you some lists. And what I'm really looking to offer you is a chance to see what the opportunities are in terms of flexible jobs and really get yourself thinking about what you might want or be able to do for a flexible job. So this first slide, for example, is the top career fields for flexible jobs. And this list is based on the job posting data that we have on FlexJobs. So we look at thousands and thousands of job listings over time. And they're job listings that are posted in 55 career fields. And we try to find out which of those career fields are offering the most flexible jobs. Where is the most opportunity? And these are the top 20. These are the 20 career fields that really offer the most options for flexible jobs. And so you can see there's a huge variety of career fields here. It's not only computer and IT or administrative or writing and editing. There is a really wide range of the type of work that can be done flexibly. So again, this is really just to get ideas churning in your brain, get you thinking about what might be out there for you. And you could either look for your current career in here and see if there are any links, or this might help you brainstorm some new ideas as well. Is there anything in this list that you go, oh, okay, that's really interesting. I've been thinking about getting into that line of work, or I've been considering a career change. This might help you pinpoint some of the areas that will offer the most flexibility. And again, this is out of 55 career fields, so if you don't see your career field listed here, it's not time to panic yet. There are definitely a lot of flexible jobs available in the remaining career fields that are not shown on this particular list. This list shows the top companies that are hiring for flexible jobs. So this is all different types of flexibility. And the reason that I put this list up is because sometimes I think there is the idea that companies that offer flexible jobs tend to only be in certain industries, or they are smaller companies and startups, and that they might not be larger, well-established companies. But the truth is that there are a lot of large and well-established and well-known companies that are offering flexible jobs. So this is just a list of the top 20. This is out of that database of 49,000 companies that we have. So again, it's a very small sample, but it does give you an idea of which types of companies, which industries, and that sort of thing are offering the most flexible work. You can also find a lot more data on companies that are hiring for flexible jobs on the FlexJobs blog and in our company guide, which is that 49,000 company database that you can search. Those are both handy resources and open to the public. Okay, so I also wanted to focus on specifically the most common remote job titles. And the reason that I like to focus on remote for a little bit is because whenever we ask people who are interested in flexible work what type of flexibility they would really like if they had to choose one, remote work is always number one. So if I asked for a show of hands here, I'm sure people would say, you know, the vast majority of you would say remote work is your number one choice. And that's above part-time schedules, flexible hours, and freelancing. And so I wanted to touch on this because, again, just to show you the wide range of jobs that can be done remotely. These are the most common remote job titles. This is also based on FlexJobs data, and these are the titles that we see over and over again posted for remote work. And the same caveat goes that this is, you know, only 20 job titles out of many thousands of jobs that we see on the site. So if there isn't something on this list that really strikes you as of interest or in line with what your career is, that doesn't mean that there is no flexible work for you. It's just not making the top 20 remote job titles in particular, but there are definitely many more remote jobs out there. Okay, so now that we have an idea of the job market, what it looks like, we know that it's growing, we know that there's a lot of variety, let's talk about actually finding jobs and companies for flexible work. So the first thing is how to find flexible job listings. So on FlexJobs, we list pre-screened professional level jobs, so that's one resource. And even from a public user, you can see all of the job listings on the site. So even if you're just looking at it not as a member, you'll at least be able to see the types of jobs that are listed in your field and get a better sense of what might be available for you. And then wherever you're searching, I always recommend smaller job boards. So there are those really big job search sites that have millions of listings, and if you are willing to spend a good amount of time, you know, sifting through those and filtering down to find the listings that are right for you, they can be fine. They definitely offer a lot of opportunities. But I find that smaller job boards are a little bit easier to navigate. They tend to have cleaner databases. There are a few junky type jobs out there. And also, they are more tailored to exactly what you're looking for. So whether you're looking for a specific type of flexibility or you are looking for something in a certain career field or profession, smaller job boards really cater to those individual needs, and you'll see fewer listings, but they will really be more tailored to your particular needs. So there's a few compilations of job board lists out there that I think are really helpful. One is proven.com, and they actually just updated this for 2018, so it should be really good data. The 100+ job boards for job seekers and recruiters. And this is broken up by career field so that you can pinpoint your particular career area and find some good job boards that are listing jobs in those areas. If you Google any of these lists, you should be able to find them really easily. The next one is skillcrush.com. They have a list of the 25+ best sites for finding remote work. So if you're interested in remote work in particular, this is a really good list to go by because it is all the job boards that offer remote work opportunities. And then Business News Daily put out a list, I think last year, for freelancers, 15 great websites for finding freelance work. And all of those, you know, offer different opportunities, different types of work, and cater to a particular type of job seeker, whether it's career field or type of flexibility. So I think they're all pretty helpful in terms of helping you find exactly what you're looking for instead of having to spend a lot of time sifting through thousands and thousands of listings. I would also recommend going to industry and professional associations for two reasons. One, they often have job boards, and so you're going to find a tailored list of jobs for your particular profession or the industries that you like to work in. But then for two, there are networking opportunities. So you might attend meetings, or a lot of them now do online webinars or virtual meetups, and it's just a good way to meet other people in your profession and start talking about your job search. while you're talking to people, I would definitely recommend not just asking what they do for a living and that sort of typical networking conversation, but also asking people how they do what they do for a living. So, how flexible is that? Do you ever get to work from home? Have you ever freelanced in that area? Anything that kind of gets you more to this particular topic that you're interested in, which is finding flexible work, that can be a good thing. So shifting your conversation from not just what someone does, but how they do it is a really nice shift that helps open up maybe more productive networking conversations. I would also put it out there to ask your friends, your family, your neighbors, and your professional network, let them know what you're looking for and see what comes back. You're not asking for a job. You're not asking them to do anything in depth. You're just letting people know that you're looking for flexible work in this particular area, and if they happen to hear of anything, maybe they could think of you. The neighbors thing in particular always interests me because I worked in an office for a long time, and when I started working remotely back in 2010, or 2009 actually, I was amazed at how many of my neighbors also worked remotely. I just never knew because I was in an office every day. And so when I finally started working from home, I noticed, oh, there are quite a few people in my neighborhood who are here during the day. They're out and about, they're taking their dog for a walk, they're having lunch on their front porch. I got to know my neighbors a little bit better and realized, oh, a lot of them do work remotely. So that's one thing to note there, is that there are more people doing work this way than you may know, and it's good to start those conversations to see who those people are. Okay, and so this was also something that Wendy wanted to touch on how to find remote jobs on MyImpact, because they do have a couple helpful tips here for pinpointing remote work when you're using the MyImpact system.
Thanks, Bree. Let me just interject here for a minute that we do have a job search engine on MyImpact, and people are often, trying to weed through all these job listings and looking for remote or flexible jobs. So I just wanted to throw out a few tips. And this is our advanced search. You need to use the advanced search to be able to refine the search in this way. But one method that I think is super easy is to come in and actually put your title words in, your keywords in, from the kind of job that you're looking for, and then just simply input the word remote in the location field. The job search engine at that point will pick up jobs that are classified as remote, and you should get a good amount of postings using this method. Another thing that you might want to try is, once again, input your keywords for your desired job in the title field, or you can put it in all of these words field. And then you'll see a field that says at least one of these words. And using the words such as telecommute, virtual, flexible, in that field, what that'll do is it'll pick up the exact words from out of the job description, so that even if the listing has not been classified in the database as remote, it still may have those opportunities available, and it may tell you so within the job description. And in this case, you could really simply just put in your city, your zip code, your location, and it will pick up those jobs that have those words in the description. So two, I think, really simple and but very profitable ways of picking out remote work from our MyImpact search engine. So thanks for letting me interject that, Bree.
Oh yeah, of course. No, that is, I think it's really helpful to know how to navigate something like that, and that you have this resource available too. All right, and speaking of keywords, I thought that was a good transition into the next slide, which is how to choose the keywords for your search when you're searching for flexible jobs. There are some keywords to avoid, especially if you're looking for remote work. So I know Wendy mentioned before to put in things like remote and telecommute, which are fantastic keywords to use. The keywords that you usually want to avoid are things like work from home and work at home, because those are very commonly used by scammers who are putting out fake jobs and trying to lure people in order to scam them. And so it's the reason that scammers choose work from home and work at home as their preferred keywords is because a lot of people describe working remotely this way. So when you talk about this act, you say, oh yeah, I work from home or I work at home. It's a very common well-known description of this type of work. And so scammers have picked up on that, and they use these words a lot to lure people in who are looking for legitimate work, and then do some not nice things to you know, steal their identities or gain access to their bank accounts or things like that. So stay away from those words. The ones that you can focus on, there are so many good words to search by, and those are listed in those 3 separate sections on the bottom. So if you are looking for at-home work, I would definitely recommend telecommute, virtual, and remote. Those 3 seem to be the ones most often used by legitimate employers, and each employer chooses their own way of talking about it, so you're going to have to use all of those at first and really see if there are any trends, if you see any sort of pattern in your industry or your career field in terms of what keyword employers are using most often. But I would definitely recommend, at least at first, to be using all of these different words and seeing what comes back. And then you also have things like distributed team, home-based, open nationwide, home short. We've seen so many different words for this, which also might be good to search by just to see if anything does come up. If you're looking for freelance work or gig work, there are a number of different ways to say that also, and it really, again, depends on what the employer prefers to call it. So it could be freelance job, contract job, project-based, consultant. There's a lot of different ways there. And then if you're looking for something with your schedule, like flexible hours or part-time hours, there are a number of different ways to say that as well. I will say that work flexibility is also one of those keywords that is good to use to pinpoint employers who aren't saying if their jobs are specifically flexible jobs, but employers that are at least supporting work flexibility in some way. So they might have it on their website that, yes, we support flexible work or work flexibility, but in their listings, they don't actually say what type of flexibility they're offering for that job. That's at least a little bit of a hint that that employer is open to flexibility, and during the interview process, that's something that you could ask about more specifically to the job that you're going for. Okay, so let's talk about finding flexible companies, because that's another great way to search, is not just looking for job listings, but looking for companies that you connect with, that you admire, that you have, you know, an interest in. So there's a number of different ways. FlexJobs has a company guide that's open to the public, so anyone can use this. And essentially, it is where you would go to research a company. So if you're looking online and you find a company that looks really good, but you just can't tell if they offer flexible work options, if you go to the company guide and search for that company's name, we have their entire history of flexible job postings available for you to see. So you'll see any previous flexible listings that they've listed, the type of flexibility, the type of job, and a brief description of the job. So you can at least get a sense of whether that company has offered flexible jobs in the past, and if so, what were they? So it's a good way to find those mystery companies and see if they actually offer flexible work options or not. The FlexJobs blog is also a good place to go for company information. We have a number of different sections, and we're updating that every day with new information on companies that offer flexible jobs. I would also recommend going directly to company careers pages. So they oftentimes on a company's career page, they will talk about work-life balance or flexible work. And like I said, it's a good indicator that at least on the surface, that company is supportive of flexible work. And then during the interview process, you can get more into, you know, questions about the type of flexibility that they offer and how, as an employee, you actually go about getting that flexibility. There's also a list that Entrepreneur and Culture IQ work together to put out every single year for the Best Company Cultures in America list. And this list that they put out, usually about 99% of the companies on that list offer flexible jobs. So we compare their list to the FlexJobs database each year, and the vast majority of companies on their list offer flexible jobs. So there's something about companies that have really good company cultures and that offer flexibility that go hand in hand. So that's another good list to check out just for company ideas. And then thinking about your own experience of former customers that you've worked with at different companies, vendors that you've worked with, business partners, or similar types of companies related to your former employers, essentially just thinking back about any company in your professional history that you have had a good experience with and doing some research on that company. I think, you know, having a good experience with a company already goes a long way to assuring you that it might be a good place to work and then also gives you something to discuss during the interview process about, oh, way back when I was able to interact with your company in this way, and it's always been in the back of my mind that it seems like you're a really good company, that sort of thing. So just really, other ideas for finding flexible companies, thinking about your own experiences. You may have come across companies in the past and haven't realized that they are, supporters of flexible work. Okay, so I did mention scams a little while ago, and I wanted to go a little bit further into that and just give you some of the warning signs of scams. So this is especially if you're looking for remote work, but sometimes scammers don't specialize in any type of flexibility. They're just out there for general scamming purposes. So some warning signs of scams: if you can't find a company's name, or if they are only giving you a generic email address to interact with, like a Gmail or a Yahoo Mail, that's one red flag. If you find that the job description is very vague and doesn't offer any detail as to what you would actually be doing, that's another one. If you are asked to conduct an interview over Instant Messenger or IM, that can definitely be a red flag. There are a handful of companies that I've heard of that are legitimate companies who interview this way. So the vast majority of companies still do phone interviews or video interviews if it's going to be a remote job, but would not necessarily conduct an interview over Instant Messenger. So this is a big one, being given an immediate job offer. And so I don't mean that you've gone through the interview process, you've interviewed with a few different people, and then at the end of their last interview, they say, well, we've heard everything we need to know, and we think you'd be a great person to have on our team, and we'd like to offer you the job. That's one thing. That's totally fine. That's a standard practice with some companies. If you receive a job offer out of the blue, you've never interacted with that company before, and they contact you on LinkedIn, or maybe you talk to them for 5 minutes on the phone, or you do a 30-second Instant Messenger interview, and then they offer you the job immediately, that's what I'm talking about. Those are typically the tactics of a scammer. The other piece to that is if they are urging you to accept the job without having time to think it over. Scammers want to get you to act fast. They don't want you to have time to think through things and think critically about the situation, and so they will urge you to accept the job immediately. There is also one scam that is fairly sophisticated. We call them copycat companies, and essentially it's when a company takes the logo and the website and just the brand and likeness of a real well-known company and creates a fake website to lure people in. So this has happened with companies like GE, Apple, CNBC. So companies where the job seeker sees that name and that logo and they think, oh, okay, this is great, big company, well-known, good reputation, and you kind of let down your guard a little bit because this is such a well-known company. So this is just an example of a fake scam website versus the real company's website. So that's how you can tell when you're on a copycat company, is that the website that you're on, that web address or that URL, doesn't match the real company's career page web address. And it can be a very small difference. So this is just an example. For this one, the difference might be the difference between gecareers.com and ge.com/careers. So little things like that, if you can pay attention to those things, you should be able to keep yourself safe. The biggest thing I will say is to trust your instincts. Anytime I've talked to someone who has come across a job scam, they will say there was a time during the process of interacting with this scam company where they thought to themselves, something seems off, either the way the recruiter was interacting with them, or there were lots of typos or misspellings in the job description, or they just didn't get a good sense of what the job actually would be. All of these different red flags. There was a time when they felt something was off, but they pushed over that feeling and kept going, because job seeking is not fun for most people, and you want to have it done with as quickly as possible. You'd like to get a job offer and move on with your life, and the lure of that is enough to make some people ignore those instincts and really just keep on going and kind of hope for the best. And so that's the moral of the story here, is trust those instincts. If you think something is not right, take a few minutes to do some extra research, and you can save yourself a lot of aggravation. So there's a couple simple search methods to identify scams. The first method is for any job or company that you're just uncertain about or you'd like more information about. Open up a new browser and you can search for the company's name or the job title and the keyword scam. And then the search results, if there are any reports of this job or this company being a scam, they will come up in your search results. So you have things like the Better Business Bureau or review sites like sitejabber.com or glassdoor.com, and you'll be able to tell whether other people have been scammed by this particular company. The second method is for well-known companies where you think you might not be on a real company's website, even though it's got the big company name and their logo and all of that. If you open up a new browser and you search for that company's name and the keyword careers, you'll find their real careers page, and then you can compare that address to the web address that you are currently on that you are wondering about, that you think might be a scam. That's a really easy way, either one of these methods. It takes just a couple minutes and it can save you a lot of time and aggravation in the long run. Okay, so let's get to the fun part. Let's say you found a job or a company that you're really interested in and you want to put your best self out there in terms of being a flexible job seeker. There are a few things you can do to really position yourself well for flexible jobs. The first thing I want you to think about is skills that you might already have. So these are the top skills for remote and flexible jobs as told to us by employers. So we actually ask employers, when you're hiring flexible workers, aside from the ability to actually do the job, what skills do you look for that set people apart? And without a doubt, almost every single time, the first thing that employers tell us that they are looking for are communication skills. So being able to communicate verbally and in writing in a digital capacity, because whether you're working remotely or you're a freelancer or you have a schedule that just puts you at off hours from your coworkers, you're going to be communicating this way a lot through, email, instant messenger, Google, or file sharing, things like that. And so they're looking for people who communicate really well that way. The next thing, time management and task management, and the ability to keep yourself focused. Because when you're working flexibly, you are not always in view of your manager, you're not always working at the same time as other people, and you're really the person who has to keep yourself on track. So really having those skills can go a long way to making sure you're successful. Being able to ask proactive questions and not being afraid to speak up. This is really important because of that disconnect, we call it asynchronous work or asynchronous communication, where you're not with other people at the same time every single day. You have to be the person advocating for the information that you need. If you're having trouble with something, or you need information to complete a project, or even at the end of the year, you are asking for a promotion or a raise, you have to be able to do that for yourself. So you're your first line advocate, or your first line manager, we like to say, and not being afraid to speak up about those things. Also, being comfortable with technology, basic troubleshooting skills. You don't have to be a tech whiz, which sounds like a silly phrase, but that's definitely not something that I am. But you have to be comfortable enough with technology that when an error occurs on your computer, you don't immediately have to ask somebody else for help. You kind of know those first few steps that you should do to troubleshoot the issue. Also, having a growth mindset is really important. Embracing change and being able to learn new things and showcasing that you enjoy that. Not only are you not afraid of it, or not able to do it, but that you actually enjoy change and learning new things. Excuse me, that can be a really important aspect. And then familiarity with remote communication tools. So this goes back to those digital communication skills, but actually knowing the tools that these teams and companies use to communicate with each other. And so that is the next slide. Skills that you can easily build. So this is all of the top digital communication tools that companies tell us they are using for their flexible workers. So you've got Instant Messenger, or IM, you've got video conferencing, file sharing, and virtual office environments. These are outside of the typical things that we all probably already use, like email and phone. Those are also very much used by flexible teams and flexible companies, but these are the additional things that they like to use. And so I've also listed the actual tools and software programs that these companies use, and they've told us they use these most often. So a little bit of homework for after this presentation, take a look at this list, see where you might be lacking some skills, and maybe choose 1 or 2 applications from each of these areas to then go out and learn and become familiar with. You don't have to become an expert. You don't even have to become an intermediate user of these things, but being familiar with them, understanding the basics of how they operate, can go a long way to setting you apart from someone who doesn't know anything about that particular program. And the nice thing is that each of these offer either a free version or a free trial period. So you can learn these things for free. Just enlist the help of a friend or a family member who can help you, be the other person on the other end of this, helping you learn them. And once you become familiar enough that you're fairly comfortable, that you understand generally how they work, you can start adding this information to your resume. And it's just a really easy way to build skills for free that go directly to what employers are looking for in flexible workers. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about resumes for flexible jobs and how you actually present yourself as a flexible worker to employers. If you have previous flexible work experience, and that's anything from casually, working from home every now and then, taking work with you home at night and on the weekends, anything where you have worked outside of a traditional office structure with traditional hours to get your job done and where you've been productive doing that can count as flexible work experience. So if you've worked off hours at your office because you had a big project to finish and you liked how quiet it was in the evenings or in the early mornings, if you've ever freelanced on the side, done any contract work, if you have ever worked from home in any capacity, you're waiting for the plumber to come and fix your bathroom or whatever it might be, if you were productive in those moments of flexible work, that counts as flexible work experience. So there's a couple of different ways you can put that on your resume. I have on the next slide actual examples of what this looks like on real resumes so that you can figure out how to put it on yours. If you don't have any previous flexible work experience, I would talk about your skills, those skills on those last 2 slides, the skills that you have that would make you a great flexible worker. So time management, the ability to focus, communication skills, and those digital communication tools, and really showcase that you have that ability and that you understand that that would make you a good flexible worker, even if you don't have actual flexible work experience. Okay, so these are 3 different examples of how to put flexible work on your resume. The first, where the person has worked for DMG Merchant Bank. They've put that this is a remote position right up in that area where you've got the job title, the name of the company, and the dates that you work there. You can put in remote, you could put freelance, you could put flexible hours, or set your own schedule, whatever it was at that particular job, you can highlight that right there. Another great place to do this is in the technology skills section on your resume, or technical skills, or computer skills, whatever you might be calling it. This person has the standard, Microsoft Office Suite list there. And then the next line is tools used for effective remote work. So it's very specific. You could have effective freelance work, effective flexible work if you wanted to be more broad. And then you actually have them listing things like video conferencing and then the names of the programs that they know, and IM and the names of the programs. I think that's really nice because it captures all those different keywords that an employer might be searching for. So you've got the generic name like video conferencing, but then you have the specific name brands like Skype and Join.me. And you can put in, whatever you actually know could go in here. And then I also like that they included new tools adopted on a regular basis, because that shows a penchant for a growth mindset, that they're learning new things, they enjoy learning regularly, and they're not afraid to add new tools to their arsenal. The last one is the customer service example. So this person has up in their summary of qualifications or their professional profile at the very top of their resume, they have 6 years experience working remotely and in flexible office environments. So it doesn't get much more obvious than that. It puts it right in front of the employer and gives them a good sense that this person has a long track record of working this way. I like that flexible office environments line in particular because no matter what your experience is, that encompasses everything. So it's a nice catch-all sort of phrase. So those are some different ways you can do that, and also remember to incorporate those skills like time management, task management, communication skills, things like that. And really take some cues from the job description also, whatever skills that job description actually lists as being highly important to the job. If you have those skills, make sure they are represented on your resume in different places and they're written multiple times if possible. But this is some of those ways to get flexible skills and flexible keywords onto your resume and show an employer that you have what it takes to do a job that way. All right, I talked about this briefly, but I did want to just mention it one more time. When you're networking with folks and putting yourself out there as someone who's interested in flexible work, shift the conversation. So ask not just what people do, but ask how they do it. So when you're talking to someone, you can ask if they've ever worked remotely or if they have ever done any freelance work, or just ask, oh, that's a really interesting job. Is that typically an office job? What are the hours like? You can be a little bit more general about it that way as well. But that should give you some good information into how people work and also open up the conversation so that you can talk about the fact that you're looking for a flexible job as well. All right, so we've come to the last slide here, just some action steps that you can take after the call is over. And then I want to open it up for audience questions. So if anyone has questions, you can feel free to type them into the chat and we can go through as many of those as we can get to. So the first step is to choose the types of flexibility that you want. Really think about whether it's remote work or having a flexible schedule or reducing to part-time hours and what combination of those flexibilities might work best for you as well, because that really gives you a focus of where you're going to go with this job search. And then research your career field to find out what's being offered. Sometimes career fields have trends in them where it's more likely that you'll find remote work, or it's more likely that you'll find flexible hours, something like that. So just do a little bit of searching to see what's already being offered and what your options might be. And identify your best flex-friendly skills and experiences so that you can start applying those to your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and also crafting good job interview answers that incorporate those different skills and experiences. And then signing up for free versions of communication tools, so the things that I listed before, like Instant Messenger and video conferencing. Start practicing those, become familiar with them, and then add them to your resumes and your LinkedIn profile. And then updating your application materials and your online profiles, of course, once you have a good grasp of your flexible work experience, the skills that you can offer, it's time to update all of that sort of stuff. Start reaching out to your network and shifting the conversation, not just from how people work, from what people do for a living to how they actually do it. And then, of course, actually start applying for jobs. That's kind of a big piece. I know I speak with a lot of people who get stuck in the planning and preparation phase. I'm sure you've probably heard of analysis paralysis. So I really like to say that the very last step here is actually applying for jobs. That's a big piece of it. You have to start putting yourself out there and seeing what happens. All right, so it's time for questions, and just as we're kind of getting those sorted out, one thing I wanted to mention is that if you are interested in FlexJobs, we have a code that'll get you 30% off of any FlexJobs membership, and you've got the pricing up there and all that information. If anybody on the call is already a FlexJobs member, which does happen pretty frequently when I do these, you can apply this code retroactively to your current subscription. So, let's say you signed up last week or last month, you can email, I think it's feedback@flexjobs.com, or just go to flexjobs.com/contact, and you'll be able to tell them you attended this webinar today and you got this code and you'd like it applied to your current subscription. So that's an easy way to take advantage of it. All right, so Wendy, do we have any questions coming in?
We sure do, Bree. Let me just get to we have a lot of questions coming in. Let me get to the beginning here. Whoa. Okay, let's see. First of all, somebody says, Norberto says, it sounds like there are a number of opportunities in a number of career fields. Do you have a sense of the range in terms of salary that are available? I understand that project management, engineering may be different from customer service, but are there general guidelines available based on FlexJobs data?
Yes, this is a great question. And yes, so there are the differences between different career fields like that. So what we've done is we've compared flexible job listings that list their salary to traditional job listings, the same type of job. So if it was a customer service job that was flexible, we compared that to a customer service job that was a traditional in-office type of position. And we found that every time we compare those to see if there is any difference in salary, there's very little difference. So if you're looking to find out what type of salary you might command, I would recommend going to a site like salary.com or payscale.com and getting the range for that particular type of job and your level in that job too. They do a really good job of breaking out, you know, senior level positions versus entry level positions and that type of thing, and find out your range there. And it's highly likely that the flexible type of job will pay in that range as well, whether it's a yearly salary or an hourly pay rate. They tend to be very much in line. So there's not really any difference that way. But of course, there are, you know, big differences between somebody who is a senior software developer and somebody who is an entry-level data entry specialist. Differences there, but when it comes to if flexible work pays less or more than traditional work, there isn't really a difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Bree. That's a good answer. It's good. I mean, we put so much emphasis on salary research, so it's good to know that it applies across the board. And now Alicia says, I currently work in the U.S., but wanting to relocate to Mexico and work remotely. How do you know if the company is open to someone working from a location outside of the U.S.? What do you suggest is something good to add or list to your resume or cover letter so that this is known?
Oh, I love this question because I think more people are looking to flexible work as a way to do this, whether they need to relocate or they're just looking to move around a bit and be more flexible with their location. I think a lot of people are in this situation. So there are different ways you can tell if a company is offering a job that would be available for someone outside of a certain location. One big thing to know is that with remote jobs or telecommuting jobs, the vast majority of them, I think it's about 95%, have some location requirement. And that could be anything from a specific country all the way down to a particular state in the US or a region of the country. So most of the job listings that we see, the company will be pretty specific about that. So they might say something like, this is a remote position for people based in New York, or this is a remote position for people based in Mexico City, or something like that. So looking for the clues in the job description that actually state the location. If they don't state a location, but they do say it's a remote position, I think it's worth applying. And then you can kind of, when you get further into the process, you can ask about what that might be. Sometimes employers put remote position and no location because they are truly open to hiring anywhere. And unfortunately, some of them forget to put in a location, and it really is location specific, but you won't actually know until you can talk to somebody. So I think it's worth applying because you're just not quite sure in that situation. But yes, there are definitely companies out there. Another good resource is Remote Co. It's remote.co is the web address. And that site specializes in jobs that can be done anywhere in the US or anywhere in the world. So it's much easier to kind of pinpoint remote companies that are hiring outside of the US, and you'd be able to be located anywhere. And that's remote.co.
Okay, sounds good. James, we got a comment from James. He said, very good material. Will PowerPoint slides be made available to us? And I think I can answer that one. What I'm going to do after today's session is I'm going to take the recording and we will post it to MyImpact, our website, and it'll be in the recorded webinar section. And at that, when you see that there, I will also place the slide handouts there as well, so it'll be under related materials. And hopefully by the end of the day today, we'll get that out there for everyone. And that looks like that comes to the end of the chat. Anything else, Bree, before we close up here?
No, I think that about covers it, really. Those are actually the questions that got asked are usually the big questions that we hear about in these presentations, so that's good. I'm glad those got covered. But no, otherwise, I think that probably covers it. Thank you all very much for having me. This was great.
Well, thank you, and we really appreciated your coming today because it's really an awesome presentation. As you said, so many people are interested in this. So it was great for everything that you've taught us here today, and we appreciate it. Thanks again.
Oh, you're very welcome.